Hello, I'm W.C. Pope. I do the Pope's Puns cartoons, and I just wanted to show you how I draw one of them. Usually when I first start, I have a sketchbook, or I sketch down ideas on a page, and then I do a secondary sketch, kind of putting the cartoon together. And when it comes out, it looks like this. And then what I usually do is I put it on a light board, just like this one back here. And then I draw on top of that with another piece of paper. So we'll go on from there, and I'll show you how it all comes together. Okay, to save some time so this isn't such a long video, I've increased the speed of it so it kind of goes by about half the time it would if I was drawing it regularly. So let's say I think this video is going to run about 4 minutes. It takes about maybe 9 to 10 minutes for the actual drawing of it, and for me to kind of sit back and look at it for a couple minutes and see if it needs anything else. But what I usually do is I'll start drawing it down. I've done a couple of techniques over the years, but I've kind of gone back to an old technique that I used to use years ago. I'll first draw down the lines with a flare marker, which you can get anywhere, and then I'll sketch out the ideas, or sketch out the drawing, slowly watching what I'm doing, putting in the little details. And usually with most of my cartoons I try to add a little bit more to it than just we call it a gag, or the joke for it. And in this one, I actually got a couple of them, just to kind of give you an idea of what I do. The C5 here that I'm drawing is very stylized, and the reason why it's so fat and tall rather than long and fat like a real C5 is so it fits in a box frame. And that started out when I first started drawing the C5 for Citizen Airman, which this has been a feature of. I always like to try to put a little human character in here, even if it's only, like to say the aircraft or whatever, just to kind of give it a feel, and it gives you a place of reference as a human. And the facial expression is always good too. Once I get the original drawing done, what I'll do is I'll go back in and I'll sketch over some of the areas with a flare marker, a Sharpie marker, which gives a little fatter line, and it gives it a little bit of dimension. And then I give keys to, like the gag here is written in the Sharpie to make it a little bolder. I'm adding some more shading, giving it a little bit more 3D effect. Here I'm putting in the secondary joke. The original idea for this cartoon came when we had a tour on base of some, I think it was 5th or 6th grade boys, and they came out to the base, and they took a tour of the C5, and when they were in the cargo area, it's such a vast area. One of the boys said, "This would be a great place to play basketball. We should put a hoop in here so we can play basketball." So the idea of playing a sport in the C5 kind of was the seed for this cartoon, that we could play any kind of sport. And I made the connection between our bowling alley and the C5, and using the C5 cargo area as a bowling alley. So that's where the idea came from. And then what I'm doing now with a ballpoint marker is putting in some of the shading. I've used the shading for a long time. A lot of times now, when it's colored, it'll be colored in Photoshop or other art programs, and I won't put this much shading in, only because it becomes more of a problem when you start adding the color in, digitally. I'm adding some shading, and this looks like it's done. I'm giving it a second look over here, or a final look over, and yeah, looks pretty good. And if you look here, we got, you know, the cartoon, the character down here. I've added Fergie Flyer. Fergie's the man who runs the manager of the bowling alley. And Chicopee Cargo Command is this kind of another secondary one, and the primary gag is the Westover Alternate Bowling Center, which is there.